What is going on, guys, and welcome to Bootstrap 4 project. In this Bootstrap 4 project, we're going to create a navbar, Bootstrap navbar. Then we're going to create over here this banner with the button and obviously the title and underline. Then we're going to go and create skills section. You can see that we're going to create this navbar transparent. Then we're going to create an about section. Then it's going to be contact us section. And then it's going to be a footer section. Now we're obviously going to be using Bootstrap 4, and we're going to be using CSS Flexbox for all the centering, right? Because that's going to make our life much more easier when we're not going to have to deal with anymore with a position absolute or anything like that. I'm going to show you how easy it is to center the elements right now with CSS Flexbox. And since we're going to be working with Bootstrap, obviously this project is going to be responsive. You can see our navbar, first of all, is going to be responsive, and then our sections is also going to adjust to the size of the screen, right? But if I, let's say, something to the medium screen, right, you can see that it's coming back to the 3 sections over here. So enough of me yapping, let's get to coding. So first things first, let's look at our setup. You can see over here that in my desktop, I have a folder, Coffee Junkie over here, right? And you can see what files I have inside. And obviously I'm using a brackets, but you can use obviously any kind of text editor you want. But over here in the brackets, you can see that I have a index.html. I have main CSS, which has nothing in it apart from the colors. And over here is the Font Awesome folder, right? And if we go back to index.html, you can see that I have a couple of links, whether it's Google Fonts and Font Awesome. And over here, I have 2 images because we're only going to be using 2 images. So let's go any further and let's look at over here. So the first thing, obviously, we would need is a bootstrap, right? So we go over here in a bootstrap, right? And we click over here, get started, right? And when we get started, we scroll all the way to the bottom. You can see that over here, they have a sample page, right? This is what we're going to be downloading in order to make this video quicker and just get to the coding much faster, right? So as you can see over here, this is that sample page, right? So the next thing we would need is Google Fonts, right? So as always with Google Fonts, you can go scroll anywhere and just pick them, right? Click over here, right? Then you can select them, and then they pretty much tell you what you need to write in the head, right? What kind of link, and over here what you need to write in your CSS, right? So I have done that. I haven't wrote yet in CSS what are going to be my fonts, but over here you can see that I made a link to my fonts, right? The next thing what we would want to do is deal with the colors, right? And I'm using this Coolors CO, right? Because I really suck in colors. That usually takes me the longest to pick the color. So over here, what I like about them, they have this generator where you pretty much just press the space bar, right? And you can lock the color if you want. So you're keeping that color and you can pick the other ones. So once you found the colors that you like and that are more suitable to you, you just get them to your CSS, like I did over here in my main CSS, right? And over here, you can see that these are the colors. You don't need to write them down because I'm going to be using, but you should write down your own colors. And obviously, you can see that my main CSS is over here. Link. The next thing is going to be Font Awesome for our icons, right? And over here, you can right away click download, or you can go through the get started, right? If we click get started, we see over here that this is the link that they want, right? Just to remember to use this path too, meaning it pretty much tells you that you need to specify where is that Font Awesome folder, right? And you can see over here that I have a folder, right? And this is going to be my link over here, right? And the last thing is obviously images. We're going to be using 2 images, and these are different images, but I'm using Unsplash because it's really high quality and really good images. And again, you can pick whatever you want over here. You can see that they have a bunch of categories, but I got my ones from this website. And one last thing that I want to show you about the photos is that whenever I'm dealing over here with these kind of situations where you need to, let's say, set images side by side, or you just need to manipulate them, in my opinion, it's a little bit easier just to resize them right away in the computer. So on a Mac, we just press Command, and then we double click, and then we open in a preview, right? And over here, what we do again, we select all, then we go to Tools, then we go Adjust Size, right? Then we unlock over here, right? And then we do like, I don't know, whatever, 800 by or 640 by 480, right? The point is to get them even size, so you don't need to keep dealing with resizing them in a HTML, because you can do it in a Bootstrap with Image Fluid, right? Now you can see that you have two images that are exactly the same size. So it really helps your work just by making it much more faster. And that's pretty much it with the setup. So let's go actually to our code editors and let's start working on our project. So now that we're done with all setup, and you can see that links that we have created over here, we can close the head section so it would stay out of our way and it's easier for you to see what we're doing. And over here, this code, I'm gonna just push it down so it's as well, it's not standing in our way, right? And the first thing that we want to do is create over here this banner section. Now the navbar we're gonna create actually last, right? So we're gonna start with this banner, and navbar we're gonna save it for a little bit later. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a header element over here, right? And within the header element, like I said again, we're gonna create navbar over here, right? But for now, we're just gonna create a banner with a button and in H1 over here, right? So the first thing that we want to do is actually create a div, right? And we're going to give it a class, and we're going to give it a class of banner center, and we're going to give it a Bootstrap class of text center, right? So over here, I'm going to call it banner center over here, and then I'm going to say that this is going to be text center over here like this. And then within that div, we're actually going to place a H1 heading over here, and we're going to give it a class, and we're going to give it a Bootstrap 4 class, which is going to be display, right? But we're going to give it a display number 2, because display number 1 would probably be a little bit too big, right? Then after that, what we want to do is actually create a strong tag over here, and within the strong tag, we're going to actually place our first actually text, right? We're going to say coffee junkie over here like this, right? Now, after that, we want to create another div, right? After this H1, we're going to say that we would want to create a div with a class. Over here, we're going to say that this is going to be a class of banner underline over here like this. And we're just going to close this div out, right? And the last thing that we would want to do from HTML perspective, just to create a link, right? And we're going to link this one to the skills section that we're going to create later. And over here, we're just going to write explore, right? And that's pretty much it for the HTML for the banner, right? So again, we're just going to create over here, close this head, right? And we can actually move to a main CSS, right? And start styling over here, right? So as you can see, again, all I think I have is my colors, right, that I created. And now we can just start styling the body, right? And the first thing that we want to do is actually add Google fonts that I had, right? I'm going to say font family over here like this, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a indie, right, flower. And then I'm just going to say that this is going to be a cursive, right? Something like this. Like this, right? And then we're going to close it out. And after that, we would want to create a rule for the header. And we're going to say that the viewport is going to be 100, like this. And then we're going to do a background. And we're going to do a background, not the back face visibility. We're going to do a background. And we're going to say this is going to have a URL. And obviously here we're picking the image, right? So here I named my one header image, right? So we're just going to pick a header image, right? This one, right? So we're going to write a header. And then we're going to say right away that this is going to be a fixed, right? Fixed over here like this. And after that, we're going to say that the background position is going to be center. background position, right? We're going to say that this is going to be center. Then we're going to say that the background repeat is going to be no repeat. And then we're going to say that the background size is going to be cover. Ground size is going to be a cover, right? Like this. And after that, we actually can start styling the banner center. And what I mean by banner center is we want to place this in the middle, right? Right exactly in the center, horizontally and vertically, right? And that's where we're going to be using actually a flexbox. We're going to be using a CSS flexbox, right? So over here, we're done with the header. So let's go with the banner center. That's going to be our next class that we created, right? So we're going to say banner center over here. And we're going to say that this is also going to have a height of 100 viewport, right? And that was the reason for that div that we created over here, right? The reason for this div is because I wanted to avoid it, since we were going to have a nav bar over here on the top. And if we're working with CSS Flexbox, it's easier if we just deal with this one section that we want to place in the center and just leave the nav bar alone, right? That's why there was this extra banner center over here, this div, right? Because we will going to still have a nav bar. So again, for this banner center, we had a height of 100 viewport, right? And then we're going to say that this is going to have a color, right? And we're going to give it a white smoke, right? And you can see that this is the color that I'm choosing, right? And after that, we're going to say that this is going to be a display, and we're going to say that this is going to be display flex, right? And you can see that right away how things change right away, just because we added this display flex rule over here. And after that, we're going to say that this is flex direction is going to be a column, right? And now you can see how they stack back again in the column, because before they were in a row, which is a default. And then we're going to say that this is going to be justify content. And we're going to say that the justify content is going to be center. And then we're going to say that we can add padding, but you know what? I'm just gonna avoid the padding because before that I set a little bit different, right? If you're working with justify content, let's say you would say flex end over here, right? Then it's useful to add the padding, right? So we're gonna say that we're gonna add like padding 70, right? So if that's what you want to do, you can do that. Padding bottom 70, I don't know, pixels, right? So you can see how it moved up, right? But we don't want to do that because I'm just gonna go with the center, right? So over here, we're going to say that this is going to be center, so therefore there's not going to be padding. All right, so let's scroll down so we could see a little bit better what's happening. All right, and over here, then we're done with the banner center. Next one would be this banner underline that we cannot see right now, right? This class. So I'm going to say banner, I'm going to say underline, right? And we're going to create a couple of rules, right? So the first one is going to be width. I'm going to say this is going to be 300 pixels. Then we're going to create a border, 3 pixels solid, and let's give it this this color, this orange color that I really like, and then that I'm really lazy to change because I just like how it looks, right? So we're going to give this one. And you can see with the brackets, if I'm working with this one, it gives me a live preview. Therefore, you cannot see the color, right? It's a little bit different because that's actually the good thing about brackets, because you can a lot of times see what you're actually doing, right? And in order to place it in the center, we're just going to give it a margin. I'm going to say this is going to be 0 pixels over here. Then this is going to be auto, right? And then we're going to have a 20 pixels over here. 20 pixels over here, right? And now we have placed our underline right in the center. And after that, we have left actually 2 more rules, and both of them are going to be regarding our link, right? So we're going to say banner center. That's going to be our class, and then we're going to say link, right? And what we would want to link, right? So first things first, we're going to give it a font size, 30 pixels. Then we're going to say that this is going to have a width, let's say, let's give it for like 300 pixels, right? So I'm going to say width, and we're going to give it a 300 pixels. Then we're going to say the same thing, margin 0 pixels, and here we're going to give it an auto, right? Then we're going to say that we would want a display inline block over here, this one, all right? And you can see that I'm messing up. And over here, once inline block, again, we're going to do the border. And the border, as you can see, that I like to do a 3, not border, right? 3 pixels, solid, I don't know, white smoke, right? White smoke, right? And after that, we're going to say that the actual color is going to be the same, right? Again, we're going to say white smoke. That's going to be the color for the text. And then we're going to say that we don't want no underline. So we're going to take text duration, none. And then after that, we're going to make, if you want to make these corners round, then you need to work with the border radius, right? So we're going to say border, and over here we're going to say radius, and we're going to say we're going to give it something like 20 pixels, right? And the last thing that we want to do concerning our banner, right? What we would want to do is actually create, once we're hovering over, right? You can see that we would want to actually have like change of color or something like that, right? So again, we go back over here. We're going to say banner center, right? We're going to say a link hover, right? Then we're going to say a banner focus, right? Over here, banner a and focus. And then we're going to say that we would want a orange color, right? So we're going to say color, and we're going to say this orange color, which is already remember 15025, right? And the last thing we would want a background color, white smoke, right? Background color, white smoke, right? So we can just save this one, right, and see what we have. And you can see that this is going to be our banner. Now you have a couple of options. You can make this one bigger, right, in your live preview if you're using the brackets, or obviously if you're working with just a regular file, this is what you should have, right? Apart from the banner, of course. I'm sorry, apart from the navbar, of course, right? So now that we are done with a banner, we can go ahead and actually start working on a, I believe that's going to be a skills section. Or here, what I like to do though, before, let's say this is going to be a header, right, section over here, and over here we're just going to give it a again a comment that this is going to be the end of header section. It just helps after that if you're looking for something that you can see which section ends where. So now that we're done with a header section, let's create over here this skills section, right? So the first thing that we want to do is actually make the comments again, right? So let's make right away 2 of them, right? And in the first one, I'm going to say that this is going to be skills section. And over here, we're going to write that this is going to be a end of skills section. Or here like this, right? So again, this is going to help us later if we want to find something, right? And the first element that we want to do is actually create section, right? And I'm going to say that this is going to have ID. We're going to give it a skills ID, and then we're going to give it 2 classes, right? So the first one, we're going to be a container fluid, right? Which is going to be a bootstrap class. And then we're going to give it a text center class, which is also going to be a bootstrap class that pretty much sets the, pretty obvious. It sets the text in the center, right? And this is going to be container fluid, which just, I think, responds a little bit better to a responsive view, right? So let's make this one a little bit smaller so you can see better, right? And the first thing that we would want to do over here, we're going to create this title, right? So again, I just like to make this comment, right? So this is going to be title, right? And we're going to create another comment right away. We're going to say end title, right? And after that, we're going to create a div. We're going to give it a class, and the class is sure enough is going to be actually called title, right? And within this div, we're going to create a h1, right? And we're going to give it a class, and again we're going to use this bootstrap class, right? The one that's going to be display, right? That actually sets the text bigger and everything, right? So we can scroll down. Well, right now I cannot see anything, but over here, if we write skills, right? So this is going to be bigger, and say a different looking, right? If I just delete this, you can see how it changes, right? So obviously it has 1 to 4, so we're using 4 because this is 1, and we don't want it that big, right? So after that, we're going to create again this text underline, right? Within the same div, but we're going to say that this is going to be div, right? And this is going to have a class, and we're going to say that this is going to be text underline over here, and we're just going to leave it empty because again this is going to be this line, right? And then we're going to create a paragraph, and we're going to give it a class, and I always like to use text muted because I just like how it looks, right? And then here you would pretty much, I always like to insert some dummy text because I just cannot really spend time a lot on thinking something. So one of the ways how I like in the brackets is using these bracket snippets, right? And over here you can see that this is going to be a library, right? And you can actually make your own new ones, right? And I actually have a video about it, so you can go and check it out. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time, but over here you can see that I have lorem, right? And this is lorem pixel. And even this one is, in my opinion, actually too big, right? So let's say that I'm going to delete even this one, right? I'm going to say that I would want something like this. And over here, if I say, you can see the trigger is going to be lorem, right? If I write lorem, right? And if I save this, right, over here, and we can just go out here, and then let's say I'm going to write lorem, and you can see right away suggests to me lorem dummy text, right? So even for this case, even that is too big, right? So let's say even we're going to delete even more, right? So this is going to be our dummy text, right? And this is going to be the end of the title. And actually, if you saw before, actually this title we're going to be using quite a few times, right? It's not just going to be this one time, right? Well, in this case, you can see we're not going to be using the dummy text after that, right? It's only going to be here, but in general, we're going to be using this title a lot, right? So the next thing that we would want to do is actually create a div class. I'm going to give it a row. And after that, within that row, we're going to start placing our columns, right? So here, we're going to write that this is going to be article and class, right? And we're going to say that this class is column, right? Small 4, right? So if you remember from Bootstrap, what it means is that starting from this small screen, this is going to be a third of the screen because you need to divide 12 by 4. So this is technically 33%, right? So 1/3 of the screen, right? So over here, what we would want to do is place, first of all, our font awesome. We're going to say this is going to be class, and this is going to be fa, and we're going to make this one a coffee, right? Over here. And then we're going to close it. Now you can see our little coffee, right? So that's going to be our font awesome. And after that, we're going to say that we would want a H2 heading, right? We're going to say that this is going to be called quality, right? And after this H2, we're actually going to create another paragraph, right? And we're going to say that this paragraph also is going to have class. And we're going to say that this is going to be class text muted over here. And over here, we're going to place, again, the dummy text, right? So we're going to write lorem, right? And again, you can get them online. You don't need to use this. I just always find it much more quicker if I can just deal with that with my lorem text, right? And after that, once a paragraph is done, we're going to create a link, right? And over here, you can see that I moved, but over here, we need to create a href, right? And we're going to create a dummy link, right? And we're going to say this is going to have a class. And since we're going to be typing as a button, right, we're going to be using the Bootstrap button block, right? So it spreads all across our let's say column, right? And over here, I'm going to write learn more. And this is what I'm talking about with the brackets, right? So you can see right away how it works with a let's say element that you're working with, right? So if I'm over here, right? Or here, you can see that now it's dealing with the whole column. But if you're actually on a link, right, you can see that you're dealing only with link, and you can see actually paddings and everything. So that is really useful, actually many times, right? And what we need to actually do right now, since we have one column, right? So what we need to do over here is copy this article 2 more times, 1, 2, right? And over here, this is going to be the same, only over here we're going to say this is going to be bomb, right? Something like this, bomb, right? And we're going to say that this is going to be a different name. We're going to call it a innovation over here. And the last one, we're going to say energy, and that's going to be bold. Right, so over here, again, we're just changing the font awesome to bold, right? And we're going to say that this is going to be a energy, right? And we're pretty much done with HTML, and we are ready to jump to CSS and start styling this skills section, because eventually it should look something like this. And now that we are in our CSS file, right, the first thing that we want to do is, let's say this is going to be the end of banner over here. Again, we're going to make comments so it's easier for us later. We're going to call this one a title, right, because that's going to be the first thing that we're going to actually style. Over here, we're going to say end of title, right, and then we're going to create, let's say, two more comments. We're going to say that this is going to be skills section, right, and over here we can just copy this one, right, and we can just say end of skills, right, end of skills section, right. And then the next thing that we want to do is actually start styling the title, right. And the only thing we need to do is select the class, title class, right, and we're just going to give it a margin, right, and we're going to give it 20 pixels, right, and then 0, right. So basically you can see that we're just adding the margins over there, right. And after that, what we would need to do is, let's say over here, we're going to say that this is going to be the title underline, right, underline, and again we're going to make that orange line, right. So, and over here we have a couple of options. We can actually copy this from over here, because most of it is going to be the same. Maybe the width is not going to be the same, but let's say if we go over here, right, because we're going to be using pretty much the same style, and if we paste this, right, so the one thing, maybe we're going to make this one 150, right, and over here we're just going to change it. Let's say that we're going to give it a little bit different margins, right. First we're going to say over here, we're going to say that this is going to be 0 auto, right, then we're going to be 10 pixels, right, and then also going to be auto, right. So again, this is going to be centering. You can see that probably over here I messed up, right. We can just put auto over here, and that should work exactly the same, right. So now they are exactly the same, and if we go down, right, you can see that nothing changed. So maybe I named the class differently or something like that. Title underline, right, where it is, right. And over here you can see that actually I said text underline, right. So that's going to be my issue, right, title, right, and there it shows up, right. So usually that's what it is. If you don't obviously name the class exactly the same, then it's going to be harder for you to actually target the class, right. So now that we're done with that, let's go and actually work on our skills section, right. So again, we're just going to create a little bit more room so we can see better how everything is. And over here, we're going to target the ID skills, right. And we're going to say that this is going to have a padding, and I'm going to give it padding 40 pixels all around, right. So we're just creating nice little padding all around, so then it looks better considering other sections and also to the sides, right. After that, we're going to say that this is going to have a color, right, and we're going to give it a little bit different color, right. It's going to be, again, one of those colors from above, but it's going to be not orange like everything else in this text, right. 142, right, and you can see that I've messed up something and I didn't add 2 over here, right. So now that we have that, the next thing that we would want to do is actually margin bottom, right? So we're going to say that this is going to have a margin, right? A margin bottom over here like this. And we're going to say that the margin bottom is going to be like 10 pixels, right? And so now that we have added a color, right, and the margin, now you can see that it's hard to see over here, but basically what it means is that the fonts are blue, right? And after that, what we would want to do is actually style our font awesome, right? Font awesome elements over here. So we're going to say skills, right? And we're going to say class fa, right? And over here, if we start dealing with them, we're going to say that font size over here, this is going to be 100, right? So this is, and now you can see that because we added this color, right? So this is going to be this navy color. Our font awesome icons are going to be navy color. And over here, we're going to say that margin bottom is going to be 10 pixels, right? So we're going to say margin bottom is going to be 10 pixels over here, right? And after that, what we would want to do is actually style these links, right? So again, we're just going to say skills, and we're going to say that we would want to style the link, right? And we're going to say that again, we're going to create some margin bottom because you can see that they're kind of close, right? And that's the thing that's going to be happening if you have anything that's going to be stacked, right? You're most likely going to have to deal with pretty much setting these margins all everywhere, the margin bottom. Now, I could have created a class and keep adding the class. That is one of the options, right? But I just choose to do it this way. So I'm going to say margin bottom, and I'm going to say that I'm going to add another 10 pixels over here. Or you know what, let's do 20 pixels over here like this. So now you can see where we created bottom. Then I'm going to say that I'm going to create a background color. And this is going to be a, let's say this orange one, right? So we're going to have 15025, right? Over here. And then we're going to say that the color is going to be actually, font color is going to be white smoke, right? And then after that, we're going to say font size is going to be, let's say 20. All right, so we have 20 pixels, right? 20 pixels and rolling. And last thing in the skills section, if we're hovering, what should happen, right? So we're going to write skills, a link hover, and we're going to say that this is going to be background color. And this is, we're going to create this gray color, right? So we're going to have C, E over here, D, 0, and over here CE, right? So let's check it out. What happens, right? You can see that as I'm hovering, right? So this is going to be a dark, actually light gray color. And if we go over here, does it look something similar? It actually does, right? So now that we're done with this section, wrong place, right? So we save it over here, main CSS, and let's go over here and let's create over here this about section. So first things first, we're going to create a comment and we're going to say that this is going to be a about section, right? And after that, we're going to create another one. We're going to say the end of about section over here. And let's probably right away make, I don't know how many more, right? So we'll have a footer and then we're going to have a contact, right? So 2 more over here. And then we're going to say that this is going to be, say about is over here, right? So we're going to delete all this, right? And we're going to say that, I don't know, this is not going to be the end, right? And with this one, this is going to be a, probably this is going to be contact section, right? Just so we have them, this is going to be the end of contact over here. And over here, we can just delete this. And we're going to say that this is going to be both of them, right? So this is going to be footer, right? So this is going to be the end and this is going to be footer, right? So let's push these ones down a little bit now that we have them, right? And let's create a about section, right? And the first thing that we want to do is obviously create a section, right? Section over here like this. And that section, we're going to give it a ID, right? And we're going to say that this is going to be about. Then we're going to give it a class, right? Container fluid, container fluid like this. Then we're going to say that there's going to be a div class row, right? So we're going to have create a div class row over here, and then we're going to actually start creating our columns, right? So we're going to create our first column, right? We're going to say div class, and we're going to say over here column small, right? And we're going to say this is going to be 4, right? Then you're going to say text center, right? And then after that, we're actually going to use the same div title that we created before, right? So over here, we're going to say that this is going to be a div title with a underline, right? So we can either type it or we can just go all the way down here, right? And this is the neat thing about it, right? So we can just copy this one, right? And we can just copy this one. It's going to be the same, right? And we just set it over here, right? And you can see that right now we have that, right? But we just need to change a couple of things, right? First, we're going to set this one to, let's say, no, we're going to keep it to 4, right? Over here, we're going to write about, right? But we're going to get rid of this paragraph, right? And you can see that, again, the neat thing is right away it's set already how we want it, right? And over here, what we would want to do is probably set a different paragraph, right? The reason I deleted just I want to make it a little bit bigger, right? So I'm going to say that this is going to be class, right? And we're going to say that this is going to be text muted over here. And what I'm trying to create is over here, this section, right? So obviously you can see that I want it to be longer than the previous one, right? So I'm going to write lorem, right? And one more time, probably lorem, right? And that should probably do, right? And what we would want to do is, since we right now have this column, right, which is going to be spanning 4 columns, right, and we would want to create actual column that's going to be spanning, let's say 8, right? And over here you can see that I made a mistake. Is you can see this div with a class of row, right? That needs to enclose this column, right? You can see over here that my columns need to sit within this row. That's the rule of the Bootstrap, right? So here we're going to say div class, and we're going to say that this is going to be column, right? And this is where we're going to be placing our image. 8. It's going to be spanning 8 columns, starting from a small, screen small, but before that it's going to be stacked. And we're going to add this class pick that we're going to be using to actually place this image over here, right? So this is what we're using that class for, right? And now that we're done with that, we can actually save this, right? And we can go to our main CSS and see what we need to do within about section, right? So here we have skills, here we have end, right? Again, we can create one and we can say about, right? And whatever, we can just copy this one and we can say that this is going to be the end and about, right? And here we're going to write our first rule. We're going to say that a about, right, section is going to have a background color, and we're going to give it that navy background color, right? We're going to say background color, and it's going to be that navy one, right? So here we're going to write 2 D over here, D 3 1 and 4 2, right? And after that, we're gonna actually place the image on the side, right? So we're gonna say about, and we're gonna give it this, use this class pick, right? The one that we created before, literally like, I don't know, 60 seconds ago, right? And we're gonna give it a height, and we're gonna say that this is gonna be 600 pixels, right? Then we're gonna say that this is gonna have a background, right? And again, we're gonna use the URL. And over here, we're going to use obviously the skills image, right? That's going to be the other one, right? And over here, we're going to say again that we want it to be fixed. And the reason why we're writing over here, you can see over here, the first rule I had was I just bluntly wrote fix, right? Over here. And this is if you want the parallel effects, right? Now you can set the rule over here, which is actually background attachment, right? And it's going to do the same thing. There's no difference whether how you did it in Banner or how you're doing it over here, right? And then again, we need to use the same thing, that we have a background position, ground position, right? And that we're going to set it to center. Then we're going to say that this is going to be background repeat, right? And we're going to say no repeat. Then we're going to say that this is going to be background size, and this is going to be cover, right? So we're going to say background size, and we're going to say cover, right? And now we have the image that's sitting there, right? Now what we want to do is, though, you can see that for now we have the image, right? And technically it's working fine, but that's not what we want, right? We want something like this, right? So how do we do that? We are going to go back, and we're going to say that we would want border bottom, right? We're going to say border, and we're going to say border bottom. And then once we have the border bottom, we're going to set it to 600 pixels, right? Over here. And we're going to set it to solid, but we're going to say transparent over here, right? And you can see that I messed up, transparent, right? So now we have transparent border, right? And now we can actually do pretty much whatever we want, right? So in this case, we're going to write border left, right? And I could say that this is going to be 100 pixels. And then we need to use the same color, right? So I'm going to say solid. And so it would look better, right? So we need to use the same color that the other section or column, or this case, the parent section has, right? So we taste this, right? And if we just click away, right, this is what happened, right? So now we have this one, right? And again, you can set this once you have this border transparent, right? We could have done it right, not radius, right? And now you can see that it's going to be on that side, or you can say border from the top, right, instead of bottom. But basically the deal is you need to cover it, and then you do all kinds of manipulations over here, right? So again, we're going to set it left. And once we're done with that, we have one more rule that we need to write, and we're going to say about, and we're going to say that this is going to be box. And after the box, we're going to say that we want to display flex, right? And the reason for this box is, right? So let's go quickly back, because this is kind of pretty important, right? So if we go over here, right, and you can see the column small center, right? We need to somehow actually center it, right? And over here, if we check it out, actually I didn't write this box, right? Because I'm going to write it right now, right? So if we add this class over here, this is going to be the parent element for, let's say, if we look around over here, right? So we have this column right now, right? And we're going to make this column the parent element for this section that we wrote, right? The title and everything. And that's how we're going to place it in the center, right? So let's go back. So now that we have attached this box, this class, right? And I'm going to save it, and we go to main CSS, right? Again, it's pretty easy done, right? So we're just going to write that this is going to be display flex, right? I'm going to say display flex, right? And then we're going to say that this is going to be flex direction, right? We want a column, flex direction column, right? And the last thing that we would want to justify content, center, right? And if we make this bigger, this is not in, it's obviously in a small screen. It's not going to be as visible as over here, right? You can see perfectly in the center. No more absolute positionings, nothing like that, right? You pretty much wrote 3 rules, right? And you center it exactly where you want it to be, right? So that's why flex is so nice and so easy to work with, right? And now that we're done with this, let's check it out whether it's kind of the same, right? Obviously, this is bigger screen. And over here, we're going to create a contact section next. So now we're going to start working in a contact section, right? So we're done with about section, right? So we open up over here our contact section, right? And the first things first, as always, we're going to start with section. And we're going to say that the ID, this is going to have a contact. And over here, we're going to say class. And this class is going to be container fluid, right? Text center over here like this, center, right? And after that, Everything else we're going to be placing within this div, right? And actually we're going to start again with the title over here, right? And we can go whenever we want to, right? It's going to be probably easier if we go with a skills section, right? So we have a title, we can actually copy it together with a comments right away, right? So I can just delete this one, copy and paste. Over here, this is going to be skills, this is going to be contact, right? Contact us over here like this, and pretty much everything else is the same, so it stays the same, right? So once we're done with the title, we're going to create a div, we're going to give a class, row, right? And over here within this row, right, we're going to create a one column, right? So we're going to say div, I'm going to say class, and over here we're going to say column small 12, right? And within this column, we're going to actually place a form, right? So we're going to say form, or like this. And then within this form, we're going to create a couple of form groups, right? So first things first, we're going to say div class over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be form group, right? And over here, we're going to have to create a input, right? So we're going to say this is what we're going to say input. And I'm going to say type, and this is going to be text. And over here, we're going to say ID, right? And this is going to be first name over here like this, first name. Then we're going to say a class, and we're going to give it a class of form control, right? And input large over here like this. Then we're going to close this one out. And before that though, we're going to put a placeholder, and we're going to say that this is going to be a first name over here like this. Now that we have this form group, right, we need to actually copy it 3 times, right? So I'm going to say 1, right, 2, and 3, and we can create a little bit more space so we can see with which form we're working, right? Because we're going to have to change just some things around. But before we forget, we're going to add over here button, right? We're going to say that this is going to be type, and I'm going to say that this is going to be submit, and class. And again, I like this class button block, right? So we're going to say button block over here, and we're going to write submit, right? And now we're done with this button, right? And the only thing is now we need to change these ones around, right? So obviously we don't want all of them to be first name, right? So this is going to be an ID of last name, and over here we're going to say that this is going to have a last name placeholder, last name. This is going to be still the same input, right? This is we're going to change as telephone, right? And over here we're going to say that this is going to have a ID of phone over here, and here we're going to say phone number. So basically we're changing these ones around, but the structure stays the same. Over here we're going to say that this is going to be email, right? And obviously ID also is not going to be first name. We're going to say email, right? And then we're going to say email address, and this is going to be our placeholder, email address over here like this. And now that we're done with this, we're actually ready to go to CSS and style this contact section, right? So it would look something like this, right? So over here we can save this main section, right? End of about, right? Again, we can, do we have those comments? I don't think over here we have the comments, right? So we're going to say a contact section over here, and we're just going to copy this, and we're going to say end, all right? And we're going to create some space. And the first thing that we're going to say is we're going to say that this is going to have contact ID, right? So we're targeting the whole thing, right? And over here we're going to say padding, we're going to say 40 pixels. Then we're going to say that the background, we're going to create a background color. We're going to say white smoke again, right? And after that, we're going to say that we would want to actually style the form controls, right? So we're done with actual, now we styled the whole thing, right? The whole section. And then we're going to say again that we want contact, and we would want a form control over here. And we're going to say that border radius is going to be 0. We're going to make them square, right? So we're going to say border, and we're going to say radius, and we're going to say that this is going to be 0 pixels, right? Then we can, just to double check, we can make important, right? So they for sure stay 0. And over here, we're going to say font size is going to be 20, right? So we go over here, and we say that font size is going to be 20 pixels, right? So now that we have that, and they're all square, now the next thing that we would want to style is actually contact button. Contact, and over here we're going to say button over here, and you can see that right away I'm styling this one, and I'm going to say that this is going to have a background color, and we're going to give it a color of 3531 over here like this. Then we're going to say that font size is going to be 24 pixels. Then we're going to say that the actual color of the text is going to be, again, our famous F5025, right? And over here, we're going to say margin bottom. Over here in the bottom, we're going to give it like 20 pixels, right? So again, you can see we added this margin over here. And again, when we are hovering, right? So we would want a contact button, right? Hover. And we're going to give it a different color, right? So we're going to say background color. And over here, we're going to say C, E. Over here, we're going to be D, 0, C, E, right? So look what's happened. When we hover, it turns gray, right? So we're done with this one. Now we're actually ready to jump to a footer section, right? Let's just check. Is it the same? Yes, it is the same, right? So now we need to make this footer section. So let's go ahead, right? And as you have already noticed, the first thing is we're creating a section, and we're going to get an ID, right? And we're going to say that this is going to be footer, right? And then we're going to have a class, and the class is going to be container over here, fluid, container over here like this, fluid, and over here we're going to say text center, right? Over here like this, center. And next thing that we would want to do is actually again create a header or title over here, right? So we go up, right, and we find where it is our title, right? And again we say the same thing. Over here we're just avoiding over here this let's say this paragraph, right? So we just copy this one, and we go down, and where it is over here, right? And we add it, right? And you can see that something is somewhere missing, right? And what's missing is div over here. So I just need to create another div at the end, and then it's going to be fine because I copied without. And over here it says, over here you see contact us, right? But what we want is coffee junkie, right? So we're going to write over here, coffee junkie over here. Now after that, we would want to actually place probably over here. Again, we didn't copy the comment, so this is going to be title, and this is going to be the end of title, and of title over here. Now, next thing we would want to do is actually create a H1, right? We're going to say that this is going to be heading 1, and this heading 1 is going to be strong over here, and then we're just going to write some random address, right? So obviously you can write whatever you want to write. I'm going to write some random address from LA, right? So Boulevard over here. I'm going to say Los Angeles, right? Over here like this. And this is going to be California. and this is going to be 900290. Apparently the best coffee shop in LA. So now that we're done with heading 1, then we need to place the font awesome icons, right? So we're going to have div, we're going to give it a class, and we're going to say that this is going to be a footer icons over here. And then within those footer icons, we're going to place a five font awesome icons, right? So we're going to say href or here, and obviously this one could lead to back to whatever you actually want the font awesome icon to go, right? And over here we're going to say I. This is going to have a class, and over here we're going to say fa Facebook over here. Close it out. You can see that I quotation marks avoided, right? And let's check it out. Do we have it? No, actually we don't have it, right? Because we didn't close it out over here with a I, right? And now we have our Facebook, right? And the only thing is left to do is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And over here we can just pretty much delete all of them because we're gonna have to write a new one, right? So over here we're gonna leave the fa, right? And we're gonna start over here Twitter. Then this is gonna be a Instagram. This is gonna be a Google Plus, and this is gonna be a LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn. And now that we have this, the last thing left to do is doing the copyrights, right? Div class, and over here we're gonna say copy, right? And over here within the copyrights, we're gonna create a heading 3, and within heading 3, we're gonna say this ampersand, right? This one, blah 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 blah, different one here, and we're gonna say copy this one, and we're gonna say copy rights, and you can obviously write rights over here. It is still 2017, and you can write your name over here by coding addicts or addict, whatever, however you would prefer, right? So over here we have this div, over here we have this div, right? And we're done with this section HTML wise, right? So now we would need to switch to main CSS and style this one so it would look something like this, right? Nothing really spectacular, right? Nothing really that different. We can just pretty much we should already know how to do this, right? So we have end of contact section, right? So again, we're just gonna say a footer section over here. Then we're gonna copy this one, and we're gonna say that this is gonna be the end of footer section, right? And first things first, again, as always, let's create a paddings. So we're gonna say footer, we're gonna say padding, and this is gonna be a 40 pixels, right? Then we're gonna say that the color is gonna be a white smoke over here like this. Then we're gonna say that this is gonna have a background color over here, and we're gonna say that this is gonna be 35353531, right? So this is gonna be this black one. And then we're gonna say that we would want to style a footer icons, right? So we're gonna say footer, and over here we have a footer icons class. That's the div that we created over here, and over here we would write a font size, right? And here we're gonna say that this is gonna have like 60 pixels, right? Because we want them to be big. I just personally like how they look better. And over here we'll say padding, and over here top. So we would have a little bit of more space, 30 pixels, right? Something like this. Then after that, we would want a actual footer icons, right? So we're gonna footer icons, and then we're gonna actually target the links, right? We're gonna have color, and we're gonna have deep blue sky, right? So deep blue sky over here like this. And then we're going to say that this is text declaration, right? We would want none. And over here, and next we would want, obviously once we're hovering, right? So again, we're going to say this one. We can just, in this case, copy since it's a little bit more to write, and we paste, and we're going to say that this is going to have a hover. And over here, we're going to say that this is going to have a color, and we're going to, I don't know, give it like a, again, again, you can blame me or whatever. I just like how that orange looks, so I'm just a sucker for that orange, I guess. And then the last thing is the copyrights. Footer over here, copyrights over here like this, H3. And here we're going to say a padding 40 pixels, 0 over here. So you can see that's the good thing. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this in the video, but in brackets you can see right away it gives you where it is, the padding, and top, bottom, right, and 0 on the sides, right? And the last one is the actual color, right? So the color of the text, and we're going to say that this is again going to be that gray one. So I'm going to say C, E, over here D, 0, C, E, right? So the text is a little bit of color. Now the only thing maybe what we should do over here, we can like create more space between them, right? So we can go back and index and check where it is, right? So this is going to be our, either we're targeting specifically title, or we're just going for title underline, right? That's really doesn't matter. We can go over here and let's say before the icons, right? So we're going to say, let's say footer, right? Footer, and over here text underline, right? And let's see why it's not targeting exactly where we want. Oh no, it is targeting under title underline. You see, text, it keeps coming up to text underline, but actually it is title underline. Let's say we're gonna give it a margin bottom 40 pixels, right? So we just created a little bit more space, but that's pretty much, we're done with a footer. Right, so again, we can extend it out and see how our whole project so far looks. And the only thing is missing is our nav bar. So if we go back over here, obviously on a bigger screen, right? But we can see that it's the same thing. And you can see this is this parallel effects, right? With the fixed size. And the same thing over here is this parallel effects effect, right? So now let's go ahead and let's create that nav bar, which is going to be all the way on the top. But before we go ahead and create a nav bar, over here you can see that I made a very, very big mistake. I wrote coffee with 2 F's and only 1 E, and over here it should be 2 E's, right? So my apologies, and I fixed it over here. So now we can go ahead and actually create a nav bar. If you remember at the very, very beginning, all right, when we started creating a header section, I said that over here we're going to be placing the nav bar right the first thing in the header actually, but actually above over here this banner, right? So over here I'm going to create comments and I'm going to say nav bar, right? And we can scroll it up so we can right away see what we're doing. And over here we're going to say end of nav bar, right? So over here we're going to be placing the nav bar, and the first thing that we would want to do is actually nav, right? We're going to add a class, and over here we're going to say nav bar class, and here we're going to say that this is going to be fixed to the top, right? And that's one of the classes that Bootstrap has. So our nav bar is going to be fixed to the top. Now this is going to be something new that they came up. Is going to be nav bar, and over here it's going to say expand, and it's going to say small. So here's the deal: you can, with this class, you can choose, right? With this small, what it means is that when we're going to be making our screen smaller, it's actually going to collapse once it hits a, let's say, small size, right? But if I would write over here medium or even large, right, it right away would collapse to the size, right? So over here I'm going to write small, but you can obviously change it if you want, right? Here we're going to say navbar light, which is another class in that Bootstrap 4 that they're using. that this is pretty much what it means, is that this is going to be a navbar light class that is added to the navbar, and I'm going to show you at the end how it looks like, right? And over here we're going to say transparent parent over here. This is going to be the class that we are creating, right? So all these classes before were actually Bootstrap classes, but the transparent one is going to be R1, and we're going to actually style it, right? So here we're going to create right away a button, right? So we're going to say button, and we're going to add a class, and again this is going to be Bootstrap class. This is going to be navbar toggler over here, and over here then we're going to write a type, right? And we're going to say that this is going to be button, right? Then we're going to need to write another one. We're going to say that this is going to be data toggle, right? So we're going to say data toggle, and over here we're going to write that this is going to be collapse. And after that, we're going to say that this is going to be, let's say, if this was collapse, right? So then it's going to be data target, right? So now we're going to be targeting the actual links, right? So remember to use the same ID that you're going to be using for the links. So over here, if it is target, right? And if we're going to say this is going to be nav content, right? So this is going to be the ID that we need to use, nav content, right? Then we're going to say that this is going to be area controls over here, and then we're going to say that this is going to be nav content over here like this. Then we're going to say area expanded over here like this, and we're going to say that this is going to be false. And then we're going to say area label over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be toggle navigation, right? Toggle, and we're going to say navigation over here like this, right? And then we can close this button. But before that, we just need to place something in the button, and what we're going to be placing is going to be span class over here, and we're going to say navbar toggle icon, right? Icon over here, right? And now that we have that, right, you will see basically what it does. Let's just check navbar toggler icon, right? So now you can see that we created our first button, right? There's nothing in there, but it's right there, right? Now after that, once we have created a button, right? So over here we can say, now this was actually a span, right? So let's just leave this one. But over here, what we can do is actually create a brand, right? And after the brand, this is going to be the logo that appears, right? So I'm going to say this is going to be a link, and then this is going to be a dummy link, right? And over here, we're going to say class, and the class is going to be navbar brand over here like this. And over here, we're going to write, and this time we're going to write correctly, coffee junkie, right? And don't worry if you don't see anything right now. Again, we will going to be styling it, and you will be able obviously to see everything, right? So after the brand, it's actually the links that are going to be appearing once we click over here, right? So once we're done with that, let's say div, right? This is going to be our div class, and over here with the class, we're going to say that this is going to be collapse, right? This is going to be that class. Then we have navbar collapse, right? And then we will add a justify content, right? And justify content, it's again, because they're using right now Flexbox with Bootstrap 4. So this is pretty much adding the links, right? So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be pushing the links all the way there, right? So here we write a justify content, and over here we're going to write end. All right, so now we have pushed our links that we cannot see right now all the way to the end. And over here, now we're creating ID, what has to match over here what we chose, right? So data target, nav content needs to be the same. So now I'm saying nav content over here like this. And over here, then we are creating already within this div, we're going to be creating a unordered list. Right, and this is gonna have a class of navbar nav over here like this, and over here we'll need to create a list items. So first one is going to be class, and over here they want a nav item right now like this. And within the list item, we're actually going to create a link over here like this, and we're going to say that this is going to be again going to skills, let's say in this case, right? So this is going to be skills. Over here we're going to write that this is a class nav link, over here like this, nav link, right? And here we're going to write skills, right? And then we obviously need few of them, right? So 1, 2, right? So then we're gonna, everything else stays the same, but over here we're gonna obviously target about, and here we're gonna target, let's say, what was the contact, right? Something like this, and then we're gonna say about, and this is gonna be contact, right? So we're done with HTML. Again, once we'll do a CSS, I'm going to come back to a couple of these classes to kind of go over some of the newer ones. Over here, contact, right? So we can save this one, and we can go to main CSS, and we can actually style the nav bar, right? And we'll see what kind of classes we need to add, right? So the first one probably that I would want to add is, first of all, I would want to go all the way to the top, and if we have a header, let's say I would want to do it right after body, because technically it's the first thing that we're going to be doing is nav bar, right? So we have a nav bar over here, and then we're going to say nav end nav bar, right? And over here, so the first thing is we're going to target the class that we transparent, right? That's the class that we created, right? And we're going to give it a background, and we're going to give it a background RGBA over here, and we're going to say it's going to be 0, 0, 0, and 0.5, right? So now you can see that we made it transparent, right? The next thing is we need to target the actual toggler icon, right? So we're going to have nav bar over here, toggler icon, and over here you can see that I'm targeting right now this one, right? So what I would want to do is border, and over here we're going to say 5 pixels solid black, right? So this is going to be our border to our button, right? Padding, we're going to add some padding to this one, right? So now you can see it's bigger, and a background color over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be our favorite one, right? It's F51025, right? So now you can see that this one has a background color, right? And if we, let's say, to go different, now you can see how it looks like, right? Quickly, let me explain to you what this class over here was, right? Remember when I was talking about this nav bar light, right? So what it means is you see these insides, right? So every time when, let's say, it assumes you use this class if you have a light heading, right? If you would want your toggle button to stand out, right? So let's say over here, you have another option where I believe it was dark, right? Yeah, you can see that if I'm choosing is to be that my, let's say, header is dark, right? So I'm using, and then it's going to be light, right? So obviously I changed the border already, but you understand that idea. It's pretty much between light and dark, right? I know that I have a heading that's actually dark, but since I have this orange background, I'm using this one, right? And this is obviously this transparent class, right? Now after that, let's go back to main CSS, and let's look at a couple of things. So over here we have nav, and we're going to have a link. And over here, another one, we're going to say that this is going to be nav bar brand, right? And over here, what we're going to be doing, we're going to say that this is going to have a color, right? And that's going to be color, and we're going to say F5025, right? This is going to be the orange. Now with this one, we need to write important, right? And now you can see how once we added important, it changed because we are overriding the Bootstrap class. And over here, I'm going to say font style italic, right? So we change those ones. And the last one is going to be when we're hovering, right? So we're going to say navbar, and over here it's going to be simple, all the links, right? When they hover, we just want a color, white smoke, and again, we're going to have to use this important over here. And now this should work, right? And the reason, again, if we, let's say, make this bigger, all right? Now, let me show you what I was talking about this one class, all right? Remember when I said to you this justify class? All right, let me find it. Justify content end, right? So what are your options over here, right? So what we can do is justify end, right? And let's say we would write a start. It would be the same because, again, it's by default, right? So let's try center, right? And now we can move it center. So this is your option when you're dealing with this div. That's the new class that they added. And again, it's a Flexbox class, right? What they're using. But in this case, I just added end, right? And now it's easier to see. I know it was a little bit annoying when we were writing in the beginning, but basically, yeah, this is the idea for this class. And that's how the whole document should look like, right? So we can just save this one, right? We can maybe make this one completely big, right? Just to see how it looks like. Is it the same? Maybe the one thing that I've done is I missed the font size, I think, somewhere, right? With the navbar brand or whatever. I think I somewhere along the lines I should probably make these ones bigger. So let's go over here and check where it is. Where is our font size? Somewhere, right? And over here, navbar link over here. And what we would want to do is font size over here. And we're going to say 30 pixels, right? And let's check it out. And now you can see that now are the same size, right? So this is pretty much for this project. I'm planning to do a couple of more, at least about these ones. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you're going to watch the next video. Thank you.